They say weddings are stressful, but nobody tells you the truth about the silence before the storm. That kind of quiet that hums under your skin, whispering that something's off, even when everything looks perfect. My name's Lucas. And a week before what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, I found out my fiancée wasn't just lying about who she was with on her girls' trip, she was lying about being my partner at all. Not because she came clean, but because someone I barely knew made me a photo. One photo. One that broke the dam wide open. Vanessa and I had been together 4 years. Long enough to collect furniture, shared playlists, and inside jokes. Long enough that her dog became my dog. Long enough that when I got down on one knee at the top of a snowy overlook in Colorado, I already knew what her answer would be, and I thought I knew everything else that came after it. She said yes. We cried. We celebrated. We planned a wedding. A spring wedding. Late May. Outdoors, with soft jazz and wildflowers and vows we swore would be personal but not too long. Vanessa took the lead on most of it. She had the vision. I just nodded, wrote checks, and tried to be useful. Picked napkin colors, tasted cake samples, sent texts about DJ playlists and hotel blocks. She was in her element. That kind of bride who could balance elegance and edge, a little Grace Kelly, a little rock and roll. She said she wanted our wedding to feel like a secret garden party in the middle of the city. I told her it sounded like something out of a dream. I didn't know I'd be the only one who thought it was real. A week before the wedding, she flew to Palm Springs with her mom for a girls' trip. Spa days, mimosas, some downtime before the big day. That's what she called it, her little pre-wedding reset. I kissed her goodbye at the airport, told her not to worry about a thing, and drove home humming the song we'd picked for our first dance. And for the first 24 hours, everything felt normal. She sent a photo of the resort. Pool chairs, sunlight, sunglasses. A blurry selfie with her mom in matching floppy hats. Said she was relaxing hard and not to miss her too much. But then, silence. 2 days went by with nothing. A heart emoji here. A busy day. Spa took forever, text there. No calls. No real conversation. Just fluff. That's when I felt it. Not panic. Just a tremor. You know when you drive over a bridge and feel the wind tug at the car just enough to make you grip the wheel tighter? It felt like that. Like I was still moving forward, but suddenly unsure of the road beneath me. I told myself it was fine. Her phone was probably dead. Maybe the resort had bad reception. Maybe she was just soaking in every last ounce of downtime before the big rush. But then, 3 nights in, I got a DM from someone named Brent. We'd met once, briefly, through my cousin. Some corporate party, I think. We weren't friends. Not even social media mutuals. But his message came in at 11:17 p.m., and I'll never forget the first line. Hey man, this might be weird, but I'm in Palm Springs for a work thing and I think I saw your fiancé. It came with a photo. At first glance, it looked like a candid snapshot, rooftop bar, dim lights, soft laughter in the background. Vanessa was there, in a white sundress, hair swept to one side, glass of wine in hand. But she wasn't alone. Sitting next to her was a man I'd never seen before. Mid-30s, tan, salt and pepper scruff. He was laughing, hand resting just a little too casually on her thigh. Like he belonged there. Like it wasn't the first time. I stared at that photo for what felt like an hour. Then Brent followed up. Sorry if this is out of line. Just. I remember seeing your engagement post a while back and thought I should say something. I didn't respond right away. I didn't want to believe it. So I clicked into his profile, scrolled until I found his recent tagged photos, and sure enough, Palm Springs, same rooftop bar, same night. The time stamp matched Vanessa's last text to me. The one that said she was falling asleep early after a long massage. She wasn't falling asleep. She was on a date. And it wasn't with her mom. I sat there in the dark, phone burning in my hand, staring at the truth like it was a trick mirror. I wanted to call her. To scream. To ask how she could do this to me, to us. But I didn't. Instead, I asked Brent if he had any more photos. He did. 7, to be exact. Each one a little worse than the last. A boat ride. A dinner. A walk back to what definitely wasn't the resort we booked for her and her mom. In one, she's holding his hand. In another, he's brushing her hair off her shoulder. And in the last one, they're kissing. Not a polite goodbye kiss. The kind of kiss that says this isn't new. I saved them all. Put them in a folder on my laptop. And then I sat in the quiet of our apartment, the one we'd chosen together, and tried to breathe. The tuxedo was hanging on the back of the bedroom door. Her dress was at the seamstress. The rings were in the drawer. And all I could think about was how many people were flying in to watch us promise something she'd already broken. I didn't cry. Not then. I just sat with the truth. And sometimes, that's worse. Because betrayal doesn't come with sirens or screams. It arrives in silence, like a thief who knows the way in. And suddenly, everything you thought was solid, isn't. People talk about heartbreak like it's loud. Like it's shattered glass and slammed doors. But for me, that first night after the photos, it was just quiet. Still. Like the house was holding its breath, waiting to see what I'd do next. I didn't do much. I didn't storm out. Didn't call her. Didn't even pour myself a drink, though I stared at the bottle long enough. I just sat at our kitchen table, staring at the manila folder I'd started filling with screenshots. Like I was building a case file on the woman I thought I was going to marry. Some part of me still hoped there was an explanation. A misunderstanding. A look-alike. A cousin she hadn't mentioned. But you don't kiss a cousin like that. And you don't lie for 3 days straight if everything's fine. Vanessa came home the next evening. I'd left work early. Couldn't focus. My manager gave me one of those looks, the kind where they know not to ask, but they're bracing in case you crack. She texted me from the airport. Home soon, red heart. I didn't reply. When she walked through the door, everything about her looked the same soft curls, same perfume, same too perfect smile. But I saw it then. The performance. The way she paused just long enough before kissing me hello. The way her suitcase landed near the stairs without her usual humming as she unpacked. The way her arms wrapped around me like muscle memory, not love. She said the trip was good. That the spa was amazing. That her mom needed some real bonding time. She didn't mention rooftop bars. Or boats. Or linen shirt strangers. And I just stood there, nodding, pretending. That was the strangest part, how easy it was to pretend. To smile while the floorboards under my trust had already collapsed. That night, she said she was tired. Blamed the flight. Said she was going to bed early. I watched her walk down the hallway. And that's when it hit me, I didn't know who I was looking at anymore. The woman in front of me had my ring on her finger, and someone else's fingerprints on her weekend. The next morning, over coffee, she said she was having doubts. Didn't even wait for the usual, how'd you sleep? Just looked down at her mug and said it, like a nurse announcing test results. I don't know if I'm ready, she whispered. I'm just confused. I asked her if something happened on the trip. She looked at me. Too long. Then said, no. I just needed to breathe. It was overwhelming. Overwhelming. That was her word for spa days and cheating. I wanted to scream. To throw the photos in her face. To demand answers. But I didn't. Instead, I stood, walked to the cabinet, and pulled out the folder. Set it on the table between us. Her eyes went wide, just for a second. "What's that?" she asked. "Something to help with your confusion," I said. She didn't open it. Just stared at the edges like the truth might bite her fingers. So I opened it for her. One photo at a time. Rooftop. Dinner. Boat. Hotel. Each one slid across the table like a card in a rigged game she didn't know I was playing. "I can explain," she started. "I'm sure you can," I said. "But the truth doesn't need an explanation. It just needs to be said." She stayed quiet. Then, finally, she said it. "I didn't plan for it to happen. Isn't that what they always say? Like betrayal is a puddle you accidentally stepped in. Not a map you studied before choosing to leave the path." I asked who he was. She said an old friend. Someone from before. Said she looked him up when she found out he lived near Palm Springs. Said they met just to talk. That it escalated. I asked if her mom knew. And that's when the floor dropped again. She knew I was meeting him, Vanessa said. She thought it would help me get clarity. Clarity. Her mother, the woman who toasted our engagement, who helped pick out table linens, had apparently been the ghostwriter of this whole mess. She didn't know we were intimate, Vanessa added. She just thought I needed space to think. To think. To cheat. To lie. To bury us before the vows were even said. I asked her the only question that mattered. "Do you still want to marry me?" She looked away. Then back. "I don't know." That was the real death knell. Because if you don't know, the week before the wedding, the answer is already no. I stood. Told her I'd be staying elsewhere. She didn't fight it. Didn't cry. Just nodded. And that was it. No blowout. No apology that mattered. Just two people standing on the ashes of something they thought would hold. I grabbed a duffel, my laptop, and the folder. Walked out into the night with my keys and a heart that felt like it had been handed back to me in pieces. That night, I stayed at my friend Daniel's place. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer, clapped my shoulder, and pointed toward the guest room. I sat on the edge of that bed for hours, staring at my phone. Waiting for a message that never came. And when I finally lay down, all I could think about was the RSVP list. The guests. The vendors. The flowers already ordered. And how every single one of them believed in a love that only one of us had been fighting for. The morning after I walked out, I drove. No destination. Just movement. The hum of tires on the road was the only thing louder than the questions in my head. Why didn't she just tell me? Why bring me this far? Why build something only to light a match and let it burn? I ended up at the venue. Not on purpose. Muscle memory, I guess. We'd been there a dozen times. The hilltop with the arbor. The path she wanted lined with lanterns and eucalyptus. The old barn that smelled like stories and fresh paint. I parked and just sat, engine off, listening to the wind whip through the empty courtyard. In less than a week, it was supposed to be full, flowers, friends, music, laughter. Instead, it was just me. And then I saw her car. Not Vanessa. Her mother's. Linda stepped out like she owned the place, pearls, perfect posture, a clipboard tucked under her arm. She didn't look surprised to see me. "Lucas," she said, like nothing had happened. Like we were still on speaking terms. Like she hadn't helped steer her daughter off a cliff. I didn't say anything. She walked up beside me, glanced around the venue, and sighed like she was taking in a Monet. "It really would have been a beautiful day," she said. And I snapped. "Why?" I asked. "Why would you tell her to go see him? Linda didn't flinch. Just met my gaze with that icy, mother-knows-best smile. I didn't tell her to do anything, she said. I told her to be sure. That's all. Marriage isn't something you walk into with doubts. Encouraging a secret rendezvous with an old flame isn't clarity, I said. It's sabotage. She folded her arms. You're a good man, Lucas. Kind. Reliable. But some women need spark. Spark. I laughed bitterly. She could have sparked all she wanted before accepting my ring. Linda's expression didn't change, but I saw it then, the flicker of guilt behind her eyes. The twitch in her jaw when control slipped for half a second. She thought she'd come back knowing what she wanted, she said quietly. She did, I replied. And it wasn't me. She didn't argue. Didn't apologize. Just stood there, letting the silence fill the cracks in everything she'd helped break. I'm canceling the wedding, I told her. Linda nodded like it was a business transaction. Well, let me know if you need help navigating the vendors. I've done this before. That stopped me. I turned. Done this before? She shrugged. Vanessa's father. We called it off 3 days before. He wasn't right for me. I thought I was being brave. Maybe I was. Maybe I wasn't. It made sense, in a twisted way. Like history repeating itself through whispers and wine-fueled advice. Like Vanessa had been raised to question love the second it felt quiet and solid. She's not you, I said. No, Linda replied. But she's not you either. I walked away before I could say something I'd regret. Back in my car, I stared at the bouquet mock-up sitting on the passenger seat, peonies, hydrangeas, soft pastels. Vanessa's favorite. I took it in my hands. And then I threw it in the trash bin by the gate. There was something final about the way it landed. Like burying a dream. Over the next few days, I made the calls. Florist. Caterer. Photographer. Band. Each one came with a new layer of grief. A reminder of something we'd chosen together. Each, I'm sorry, the wedding is cancelled, was another tiny eulogy. Most were kind. Some refunded deposits. One florist even cried. And the guest list? We had a group email thread. Lucas and Vanessa's big day ring sparkles. I typed the message 10 times before sending it. Hi all. With a heavy heart, I wanted to let you know the wedding has been cancelled. I appreciate your love and support. Please don't reach out for now, I just need some space. Thank you for understanding. No details. No blame. But word spreads. By that evening, I had private messages from 5 different people. Some expressing shock. Some offering shoulders. But one stood out. Vanessa's college friend. Jenna. She wrote. I wasn't sure I should say anything, but I saw Vanessa in Palm Springs. I saw her with him. And I just want you to know, you're not crazy. You didn't imagine this. She wasn't alone. That was all I needed. Not revenge. Not drama. Just confirmation that my gut hadn't betrayed me, even if she had. I never responded. That night, Vanessa finally reached out. Text. No call. I know you've cancelled everything. I get it. I don't expect forgiveness. But I'm sorry. And I hope someday you'll believe that I didn't do this to hurt you. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't feel anything. But because I felt everything. And I didn't trust myself to speak from a place that wasn't bleeding. Instead, I put my phone on silent, poured myself a glass of water, and stood in the middle of the apartment we'd made ours. Half-packed boxes. Her shampoo still in the shower. The ring box on the mantel. I picked it up. Simple platinum band. Inscribed with her words, for every day. It was supposed to mean something constant. Now, it felt like a punchline. I opened the drawer, placed the ring inside, and shut it gently. That sound, soft, almost loving, was the loudest goodbye I'd ever heard. After the cancellations, after the messages stopped and the ring was tucked away, what came next wasn't rage. Wasn't even sorrow. It was vacancy. You know that hollow feeling when a storm ends, and everything's still wet but quiet? That's where I lived for a while. The apartment didn't feel like mine. It didn't feel like hers either, just a space full of echoes. Pillows arranged like she left them. Half a bottle of her lotion on the sink. That stupid wedding countdown magnet still clinging to the fridge. For days to go. I didn't take it down. Not at first. Vanessa didn't come back. She didn't send a box for her things. Didn't ask to talk. Didn't beg for another chance. Part of me resented that. The other part respected it. At least she didn't pretend. I spent the first few nights on the couch. Something about the bed felt too intimate, like climbing into a memory that no longer belonged to me. Daniel texted every day. A few other friends offered to take me out, grab a drink, hit a movie, just do something, man. But I wasn't ready for normal. Because normal, once broken, doesn't come back on demand. It has to grow again, piece by piece. About a week after everything imploded, I went to return the tux. The guy at the shop didn't say anything when I handed it over. Just looked at me for a moment, nodded, and said, "She doesn't know what she lost." I didn't correct him. Because maybe she did. Maybe that was the scariest part, that she did know. And still chose to lose it. That night, I finally called my dad. He hadn't asked for details. Said he figured I'd talk when I was ready. We hadn't always been close. He's a quiet man, raised in a world where emotions were something you wrapped in a newspaper and left out with the trash. But he'd always been honest. When I told him what happened, he was silent for a long time. Then he said, "Love doesn't protect you from disappointment, son. It just gives you something worth being disappointed about." That stuck with me. Because he was right. What hurt wasn't just the betrayal, it was how real I'd believed it was. How fully I'd shown up for something that only half existed on the other side. A few days later, I did something small. I took down the wedding magnet. Pried it from the fridge, stared at it for a beat, then dropped it in the drawer with the ring. One by one, the rest followed. The RSVP cards. The seating chart. The half-written vows in her handwriting, tucked into the back of a cookbook. I didn't burn them. Didn't shred them. Just boxed them up and slid them into the back of the closet. Not because I was saving them. But because some things deserve to rest quietly. That Sunday, I went for a walk. Same neighborhood we'd wandered 100 times, coffee in hand, dreaming out loud. This time I walked alone. And for the first time, I noticed the things I hadn't before. The cracked sidewalk near the bakery. The ivy climbing up the side of the bookstore. The way the late afternoon light caught in the windows of strangers' homes. It felt like mine again. Not ours. Not what it was. But something new. And that, in its own quiet way, felt like healing. 2 weeks after the day that wasn't, I woke up without the weight in my chest. Not gone. Just, lighter. Like grief had stopped shouting and settled into a whisper. I started making little changes. Not to forget her, but to reclaim the space. Rearranged the living room. Donated the dishes her aunt gave us. Painted the bedroom a warmer color, something she said clashed with her aesthetic. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like recovery. The first real step came when I found the honeymoon itinerary sitting in my inbox. I'd forgotten to delete it. Santorini, Athens, then 2 nights in Florence before heading home. She'd picked the hotels. I'd planned the flights. We'd debated whether to check bags like it was the biggest decision in the world. Now, it read like fiction. I hovered over the email, ready to trash it, but then I didn't. I clicked. Scrolled through the plans. The names of places we were never going to see together. The restaurants we wouldn't sit in. The sunsets we wouldn't toast. And that's when the idea hit me. I had the time off work. I had the miles. Everything was booked in my name. So I went. Alone. Not to chase ghosts, but to leave some behind. Santorini was strange at first. Couples everywhere. Matching linen outfits and selfie sticks. It should have gutted me. But somehow, it didn't. I walked along the cliffs. Ate by myself in a restaurant with too many candles. Ordered the wine she would have picked, just to see if I liked it. I didn't. One night, I sat on a rooftop, watching the sun drop behind the water like it had somewhere better to be. The table next to me held an older couple, maybe late 60s. They were holding hands, silent but full. You could feel it in the space between them. I must have been staring, because the woman smiled at me and said, "Waiting for someone?" I shook my head. Not anymore. She nodded like she understood more than I said. That's the thing about waiting, she said, still smiling. Sometimes, letting go is how you get back to yourself. That stuck with me. In Florence, I visited a bookstore. Picked up a copy of Letters to a Young Poet, the English translation, dog-eared and worn. Inside was a note written in pencil, "Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart." It felt like a sign. Like the world was whispering that healing isn't a finish line, it's a practice. A quiet, stubborn choice to stay open when your heart wants to close. By the time I landed back home, the apartment no longer felt haunted. I unpacked my suitcase, tossed the old wedding favors, and opened the box where I'd placed the ring and the magnet and everything else. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just looked. And then I closed the box for good. Not out of pain. But peace. Because I finally understood, grief doesn't mean the love was wasted. It means it was real. It meant something. It just didn't last. And that's okay. Some people teach you how to hold on. Others teach you how to let go. Vanessa. She taught me both. A month later, I ran into her. Not in some dramatic airport scene or emotional cafe standoff. Just the grocery store. A Tuesday. Frozen aisle. She was reaching for blueberries. I was grabbing frozen peas. We both froze when we saw each other, like our presence broke the laws of routine life. She looked different. Not worse. Just, uncurated. No makeup, hair tied back, hoodie and sandals. She looked like someone who'd been quiet lately, and maybe, finally, honest. "Lucas," she said softly, like she wasn't sure if she had permission to use my name. I gave a small nod. "Vanessa." We didn't hug. Didn't pretend. She glanced down at my cart, protein bars, toothpaste, dog food, the quiet signs of a life moving forward. "I heard you went to Greece," she said. I didn't ask how. Word travels. Mutual friends, maybe. Or her mother, who I hadn't heard from since the venue. "Yeah," I said. I needed to see what it felt like to go anyway. She gave a faint smile. Did it help? I thought about the sunsets. The quiet. That old couple. The bookstore. The wine I didn't like. The silence that didn't hurt anymore. "Yeah," I said again. It did. She looked like she wanted to say more, something weighty, maybe an apology dressed in wisdom. But she didn't. And I didn't ask for it. We both stood there for a moment, in the hum of refrigerator lights and background music, two people who once thought they'd grow old together, now strangers who shared a story neither would ever fully tell. Then she stepped back. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "Not just for what I did. But for how long I made you believe I wouldn't." I looked at her for a long moment. Then nodded. Not in forgiveness, exactly. But in recognition. That matters too. And that was it. She walked left. I walked right. 2 carts. 2 lives. And no urge to turn around. That night, I came home, made dinner, and fed the dog. Sat on the couch with a book open and music playing low. Nothing dramatic. No epiphanies. Just presence. It's funny. I used to think closure meant confrontation. A big conversation. A tearful release. But sometimes, closure is just this, a quiet night, no message from her, and no ache where there used to be one. I started dating again, slowly. Not to fill a gap, but because I no longer feared being known. I wasn't trying to replace her. I was just open to someone new building something beside me, not around what had been. One night, I went to dinner with someone kind. Her name was Tessa. She laughed at my bad jokes, asked questions like she cared about the answers, and didn't try to be impressive. She just showed up. Fully. And I realized, that's all I ever needed. Not perfection. Not fireworks. Just someone real. Someone who doesn't flinch when love gets quiet. There's no wedding on the calendar now. No countdown. No save the dates in the mail. But there's peace. And that's worth everything. Because life doesn't always give you what you planned. Sometimes it gives you something better. Yourself. Whole. Wiser. Ready. Not waiting for someone to come back. But walking towards someone who'll never need to leave.